faces that I recognize. I also want to thank you for the work that I know that you have already done for St. Raphael Catholic School. I have already heard of your strong tradition of support for the school, and most importantly for the students. And of course, that's the reason that we're all here. That's the reason that we are drawn together as a family, is because we all love these kids. And we all want to help them to become the very best Catholics in their adulthood that we can. Ms. Maggie asked me to speak a little bit about myself and my background, so I'll start in the past and I'll work forward. I was brought up as a Catholic. I'm from Sarasota. I went to Incarnation. For those of you that have been to Sarasota, Father Jerry was my pastor, and he's also went back to Sarasota to Incarnation to get married by Father Jerry when it was time. Father Jerry was that traditional, old school Irish priest. I remember sitting in school mass, 5th grade, and he literally stopped mass in the middle of his homily to fuss at the kindergartners because they were talking during mass. But it's funny, in that tradition, and as much as that stuck in my memory, I noticed that that's where I went back to, because that was home. And then later on, I went to Carnegie in Sarasota also. I went to university. My educational license is from the University of Dayton, because they have a special program for Catholic education, for Catholic educators. Likewise, my girls started Shelby started at Nativity in Charleston. Tegan and Shelby then went to Notre Dame in Hernando County when I was teaching over there. They followed me to St. Lawrence, where we were for 10 years. And now they're at Academy. Tegan is a freshman at Academy. She had the opportunity to be elected as student council representative as a freshman, which we're all very proud of, and she plays on the basketball team. Shelby was recently nominated and elected into the National Honor Society as a junior. She's also in the National Hispanic Honor Society. She's running track this year. So that Catholicity comes back, that idea of family. And for those of you who might have Tampa roots, that same Tampa root that we hear of, that same family root that we hear of, that Monsignor Higgins promoted so much, it comes here. When I had the opportunity to interview, my very first interview here, with Father Tim and Deacon Jim, and the very first thing that they asked me to do is to open with prayer. And since notice I've been around in Catholic education for a while, so I was prepared for that. I went back to Proverbs. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And that's what Miss Maggie and I talked about as we talked about my background. That foundation that I received at Incarnation helped me in Cardamuni. And that foundation that I received at Cardamuni helped me in all of my years as a student at university. I came to education the long route. My first plan, I was going to be Dana Scully, for those of you that remember the X-Files. But this is where I ended up. And in all of those ways, I was helped back by that foundation that I received as part of that Catholic family at Incarnation and at Cardamuni and beyond. And likewise, that's my hope and my expectation for our children, that we are training them up in the way that they should go, that we are training them here when they excel, and obviously that's what we want them to do. But when they stumble too, for those of you who are mothers, you know that that's a learning experience also. I too was called to the principal's office, we won't talk about that. But I actually took that lesson, and we can't. I took that lesson the very first day of school to my kids. And what I told them, the same thing that Sister Monica told me back when I was in middle school. If you don't want me and Father Jerry and your parents to read it, don't write it down. And so when we excel, when we we make the team, when we make the honor society, that's fabulous. And we are here to support you, and we are here to lay the foundation for that. And when we stumble, we are here to help you learn from those things too, so that you don't get called to the principal's office again. And that's all part of that same education process that we have. So yes, when we talk about the mission of St. Raphael Catholic School, we start with to excel academically. And they are students, and they are students first. And then we talk about faith-filled values, about demonstrating those. And that's where we have that special niche in our students' lives that we can educate that whole child. Because as parents, as educators, we know it's the same standards. We have the same standards that you're going to find in another school. But what hopefully we can bring to the children is that more. That's what we want. We want to bring them Jesus Christ. We want to let them know that Jesus Christ loves them today, that Jesus Christ supports them, that Jesus Christ, like us, is going to forgive them, and that we carry on as Christians the next day. That's what we're hoping to train them up in here, so that they can take that on to St. Pete Catholic, to Clearwater Central Catholic, and then to college and beyond. And we want them to, in that, also to be able to reflect their Catholic values. That we come together at Mass. Unfortunately, this year, we have to come together every other week instead of every week, depending on your grade level. But still, that this is where we come back together again, because this is the focus. Our Christ-centered environment is the focus of everything that we do. And that promotes the whole child education. And that, yes, between those academics and between that whole child education, that not only is going to talk about that foundation of the Christ-centered environment, but that we have the opportunity here to offer the children even more than that. To offer them music, to offer them physical education, to offer them technology and stream and a foreign language. So that they can take these skills in that Christ-centered environment and they can hold those to their hearts as they grow up. And finally, because as they grow up, and that is all of our goal, right, that they're going to be able to become leaders in our community. So that one day, one of them is going to be sitting here, and one of them is going to be sitting there, and one of them is going to be standing here. Because that's what we want, is for them to take all of those lessons, all of those trainings, and to become the best possible future that we can have for St. Raphael and for St. Pete and for our country, just like we talked about when we did our intentions this morning. And so when we talk about the concrete, well, what does that mean? What Father Curtis and I have been talking about for the future of St. Raphael is that means improving on the beautiful foundation that we already have here. Father Curtis and I have dear to our hearts that we would love to be able to start a catechesis of the Good Shepherd for the children. Again, starting to train them up with that faith, with those reflecting Catholic values, so that if we start at the very youngest, those who are 3 and 4, they're going to carry those on. They're going to carry that on until they're a little bit older, in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, a little bit more malleable, and then they're going to carry that on to middle school, and they're going to carry that on into high school. At that point, as we know, where they're making independent decisions, right? We need to train them up now with those Catholic values, with that Christ-centered environment, so that when they get older and we're not standing next to them anymore, they still have that in their heart. And I will say that's what I was thinking about today. And honestly, that has been the theme in my mind as we've been going through this year, is from my mommy brain. It's amazing. I went to St. Lawrence 11 years ago. And I went there for work. And I brought my 2 kids with me because that's what I do. And I sat in that gym and I looked around and I realized, wait a second, the people that I was sitting next to 10 years ago are the people that I'm still sitting next to today. And as I've seen my kids get older and change schools and go on, wait a second. Yes, the school changed, but you know what? When I look at that group that's going to formal, when I look at that group that's going to homecoming, that's going to Busch Gardens, whatever it is, it's still that same group that started off together. So here we are as grown-ups making the decisions, the adults, the parents, that this is going to be our village. And yes, I know that we're making an investment. I can tell you now that my husband, for the first 5 years that we were at St. Lawrence, didn't realize that tuition increased. Yes, because I just paid it. Yes, honey, it's okay. Don't worry, honey. My point is that I realize what it is that we give up. I really do. In order to support this village, and in order to put our children in this Christ-centered, faith-filled environment where we reflect Catholic values. And then I also see, though, how even now, that still carries on when they're making their own decisions and when they're choosing their own friend groups. Right? They leave our little community and they get to choose. And they're still choosing. We are training them up. And we have hope and prayer for the future that they will continue to choose this Christ-centered, faith-filled environment where we reflect Catholic values. And that's what Father Curtis and I want for St. Raphael. To start that up, to train up these children so that as they progress, they will be me and the future Father Curtis and the future parents and grandparents that support us so much. My only regret is the situation that we're in. I would love to welcome our families onto campus. I would love to do a Donuts with Dad more regularly and a Muffins with Mom, and we have talked about doing that for next year. And unfortunately this year we can't be the same family that we were next year, or that we have been in the past and that we hope to be next year. So I do appreciate you that even in those times where our family is virtual, that your support is still there and alive, and thank you for that. And I do want to let you know that I appreciate that, and that Father Curtis and I, our goal is that our family is going to be live and in person again, and that we're going to be able to let the children feel your support and to know that they're supported in all ways and in all times. Thank you.
I'll give you all my praise. You I long to worship.
We are actually blessed here. Our students and our faculty are almost entirely Catholic. Off the top of my head, there's only a few students who are not parishioners of either St. Raphael or another Catholic church. And so if I had to pick a number off the top of my head, I would definitely say within 95 to 99% of the students are Catholics. Now, your next question was regarding tuition. Currently, the tuition for in-parish students is $6,100. For out-of-parish students, it is $8,100. That's for the year. As we know, as supporters of Catholic education, the difference is honestly the church. For those of you who contribute to St. Raphael Parish, St. Raphael Parish supports Catholic. St. Raphael Parish supports St. Raphael Catholic School, and that's why there's that difference in tuition.
Are there any students who are eligible for tuition assistance?
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, again, working off the top of my head, I have approximately 35 students who receive tuition assistance from the state and so forth. So when you hear, for example, of Step Up for students on the news, Step Up for Students is not actually affiliated with the state of Florida, although they're not an official government agency. But they do offer half of those scholarships. 12 to 15 of my students are receiving Step Up for Students scholarships. There's that formula. The other formula that I have is for family empowerment, for McKay, and for Gardner. So I have students who receive those scholarships, and those are from the state of Florida. I also have one student who receives AAA scholarship. I have a couple of students who receive the Mary C. Ford scholarship. I also have a couple of students who receive diocesan A. And I do have 3 students who receive funds from the Cavalry Foundation, from the Cavalry Scholarship. So yes, please, for those of you who maybe are talking to friends, to family, and I can't afford that, please, at least fill out the application. At least have the opportunity. If the state tells you no, well then there's Step Up for Students. If Step Up for Students tells you no, well then we have the diocesan fund. If the diocesan fund tells you no, well then I have the Cavalry Foundation. And we even have, for example, this year, a family that was denied for the AAA scholarship at the beginning over the summer, and then they just received it around Thanksgiving break. So things change also. So just because they denied you once doesn't mean that they're going to deny you again. And in fact, the Step Up for Students scholarship is still available for this year, but that window is closing very quickly because they're going to start to accept scholarship applications for next year. This year, because of COVID, it's after school care, and then the Catholic schools right here in South Pinellas County have sports. We're doing kickball for 7th and 8th grade right now. After this, what we're talking about planning is that we're going to do soccer after kickball. We did 5th and 6th grade kickball before around Thanksgiving, and then before that we did beach volleyball. Because of COVID, everything that we do has to be outside, and it has to be as non-contact as possible. Normally, what I would like to tell you is, and excuse me, and I do know that Mrs. Wahlberg is having the beautiful choir that we have seen in school, which is completely amazing. But for some reason, the choir's title is escaping me right now. I'm not going to think of it as soon as I get to my car this morning. So we have after school here, we have what sports we have available, and then we do have a choir. Normally, I would like to tell you that we have something every single day. For example, I was talking to the tech guy just on Monday about starting a journal club for the kids for next year. We were talking at my last school advisory council about doing a stream club after school also. There's a lot of support here for music and for choir and band. I would love to tell you that there's also choir and band after school. So the plan is that next year that list will be longer. So when you drop off your children at 7:30, I become responsible for them, not only for their education, but also for their well-being. And so we have the well-being of the children, and then obviously, as a responsible ethical employer, I have the well-being of the dedicated faculty and staff that are going to be on campus in order to help us reach the school, right? And so that was the challenge. The challenge was me being able to sit down and say to you on August 24th that when you drop off Jimmy at 7:30 and Charlie and Joseph, that he is going going to be safe, and that his teacher is going to be safe also. So to that extent, we sat down and planned, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of promoting within our community the idea that, please, if Sally or Barbara or Ann has a little bit of a runny nose, it's okay, she can stay at home. We're not going for perfect attendance this year, okay? For this year, let's be considerate of one another. That means that we spent thousands of dollars on death shields and death dividers. That means that we have backup masks instead of if the kids happen to forget their masks at home. That means that we had to unplug some of the water fountains, the older ones that didn't have the water bottle filling station. But we did install 2 new ones. One of them is in Caroline Hall, the other one is over in my office. So we talked about death shields, we talked about masks, we talked about, please, we're not worried about perfect attendance this year, stay home if you don't feel good. We have disinfectant in every single classroom. We have hand sanitizing stations in every single classroom. Those are the things. We have the social distancing amongst the children and the teachers. And so those are the things we talked about in order to be able to say on August 24th. I can keep this, obviously it's never going to be perfect. I can't put a bubble over everyone. But I can say with some measure of certainty that we have put every single piece in place that we can in order to keep the children and the staff healthy. And with St. Rayfield's help, I can say that the numbers at school have been very low. Now it's been, I think it was my November administrators meeting, so please keep that in mind. At the November administrators meeting, the diocese shared with us that the positivity rate amongst kids at the time was less than 1%. And the positivity rate amongst faculty at the time was around 3%. Much less even if you think about where we were as Pinellas County at the time, what we were out in the community. And that's all of us working together. That's the moms and the dads sending the kids with the mask. That's the moms and the dads sending the kids with the water bottles. Moms and dads keeping the kids at home if they're not feeling 100%. Being cooperative. I did extend the time period for kids to come back if they're not 100%. Being cooperative with that policy in order to make sure that everyone is as healthy as possible when they walk in. And the temperature screening. And we do that also when the kids come in. We have also limited the number of, we have also limited people on campus altogether. That goes to the extracurricular activity question. That goes to, for example, we had a virtual Christmas shop as opposed to a live Christmas shop this year. The virtual Christmas program as opposed to the live Christmas program. So there are many steps to try to make sure that our children and our faculty stay healthy and safe. Yes, Nina?
I wanted to say you have been an amazing asset to our community, our school. It's palpable. The children, the Catholic values are just, it's coming from above and it's just streaming down. And so grateful. I've been so impressed since day one. This was a logistical nightmare to open the doors and to be face to face. And you made it look effortless. Charlie comes home every day, happy as a clam, he's healthy. I mean, when we get the COVID, someone has been exposed, it seems like it's always from home. It's out of, not in the school environment. It's always been
I pray all day long.
elsewhere.
I pray that's not part of the official COVID review. We plan on Mrs. Drinkwater praying all day long.
Well, and every newsletter, every communication from you is faith-based. You end with, a verse, or it's inspiring, and I pray for you every day because what you're doing here for our children. I know we can't be on campus, but we have the faith that you're taking care of them better than their own parents at this point. Really, I thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So Mrs. Nelson was one of those faces that I came in and I saw, oh. So thank you very much. And in the outpouring of support and honestly, in cooperation has been overwhelming and wonderful, because we have had to endure a lot together and adapt together. And so we go back to that place that we're all here to help these children, to train up these children, and we go back to that idea about family, that we can't do it alone. That it's not just me and it's not just you, but we can do it best if we work together. And so that's what we want to carry forward. That's that message of family that we want to carry forward to the children. And if they see that we're working together, then they feel supported and guided, and they will do better.